Hey, welcome to the 464th episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patrons Emilio Torres and Seabass. I'm Matt Unlow.
And I'm Oren Kaplan, and today Matt and I are catching up. We are both in the middle of things, as usual. Matt is prepping for a new show. I am literally in production on day 2 of 3. So it's been a long journey. It's funny, I talked about my shoot, I think, on the podcast, and about the weather, and I think we talked with Eric McCaslin about it. And so everyone last week was basically messaging me on Instagram, like, how'd your shoot go? How'd this? Did you make it? The rain is horrible. And my shoot ended up pushing. So this week it's sunny.
Today was beautiful. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is a perfect day to shoot. This is why Hollywood is where it is for days like today. It was really gorgeous. Yeah. I have, of course, just from, self-sabotage, like done a lot of research of other places where in February, the weather is great. And there's like Miami is like 90 degrees and sunny right now, like all week. Mexico is beautiful. Brazil is like, it's summer there. And South Africa, I keep hearing of people going to South Africa, and it's like, oh yeah, because it's summer in South Africa. Yeah.
So,
I'm not saying it's not nice other places. How are those crews, Oren? How's the cast out there?
Crews are amazing, casts are amazing. And our client is from Atlanta, and our agency is from Dallas. And we definitely have better weather than both of them.
Sure. Yeah. I think right now, Texas is going through the worst cold snap they've ever experienced, I think, in Dallas right now.
Yeah.
I'm
just saying, yeah, because the way you said it sounded like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I have no clue.
Yeah, my in-laws are out there, and they were like, it's cold. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, everything's colder in Texas.
It's
Isn't that
true.
what they say?
Yeah.
Yeah, our buddy, Vince Pioni, just had to shoot in Philadelphia, and he shot, it's like a fully exterior summertime scene, and they wanted to shoot in Philadelphia, and there's snow on the ground, and they literally had to bring like snow plows. Or as a person who grew up in mainly California, I have no idea what these machines are called that remove snow.
I think, but also that's based off of a Simpsons episode. That's the entirety of my knowledge of snow plows. So
80% of our listeners are like, these idiots.
Sure.
Matt, before we catch up on things, how's your Magic Mind journey going? Are you still on it?
I am
daily.
I'm still on it. I'm running low, so I didn't have it today. But
every other day.
I kind of shifted into the Oren Kaplan mode of like, okay, today's a good creative day. I really want to stay sharp, so I'm going to go ahead and have one. But I did do the sleep. They sent us a batch of like their sleep elixir as well. Think? It was interesting. I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I remembered my dreams much more.
No, you think it gave you lucid dreams?
I am not saying that I was lucid, but I have woke up with real memories of my dreams consistently, basically the whole way through.
Oh, wow. And I tried it. It totally worked, but I had the opposite effect where I was just like,
you just
slept like a truck.
Yeah. I think I
truck sleep. Is that a saying? Slept like a truck?
No, but I get what you were aiming for. Yeah.
Like I was hit by a truck.
You were hit by a truck. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't have a hard time falling asleep. Unfortunately, I can fall asleep anywhere. I can fall asleep on a dare most places.
Yeah. But I feel like most stories they tell you. Yep.
So, but yeah, the vivid dreams. I was like, I had a dream that Timothée Chalamet was being difficult on set the other night.
He was.
Yeah, sure. It's like, Timothy, can you please but then like really long ones. So I don't know. It was interesting. It's been an experience for me. I'm liking it. I am like waking up less groggy, which is I think kind of the other thing. Like I'm awake, which is important to me. And maybe why I've been saving the other Magic Minds a little bit more, because I'm kind of like ready to go right off the bat. What about you? Are you using it on set for your shoot, Oren? I guess not. You're out of Magic Mind.
No, I did not.
Email them.
I know. I did not use it today, and I was so bummed about it. And I actually talked to our producer, Kelly. I was like, "Oh, dude, do you have any Magic Mind?"
Well, Kelly, if you're listening, send this guy a Magic Mind.
Yeah, maybe he'll bring me one tomorrow. He's not sleeping at the hotel, so maybe he can go grab one. I should text him. No, I'm not using it today, but I was using it through my entire stressful last week where things were not cooperating with me in the way that I wanted. And I was like, I need to be calm. I need to be focused. I need to be happy. And just Magic Mind a bit right before I met up with other people. And some of the ingredients in it, I think, are helping. The lion's mane, the ashwagandha, the nootropics, and many other things that you can look up on their website, where you can also get a discount on this product. Do you happen to know what the URL is?
Hold on just a second.
Is it not still Shoot It Jan?
No, there's no Jan. magicmind.com/shoot it.
Well, if you all want to try some Magic Mind for yourself, see if it's the real deal, you can get a giant discount, 45% off, by using the URL magicmind.com/shootit, SHOOTIT. Check it out. Let me know.
It's a little bit of a pun, like you shoot the magic mind, like it's a little shot.
Yeah, our buddy Matt Pollock texted me the other day. He's like, so what's the deal? Is Magic Mind for real? I was like, yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Has anyone texted you about it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, people are like, what is the deal? Yeah.
What is the deal? And I'm like, it's 45% off.
45% off, 48% off your first subscription, or 20% off a one-time purchase.
Now, let's catch up, dude. I'm shooting all exteriors, and, I talked about how I'm trying to make LA in the winter look like a tropical vacation, like White. I don't know if you've seen the new season of White Lotus, season 3, episode 1, takes place in Thailand.
That's right. And I just did a spot with Patrick Schwarzenegger, who is he's like one of the lead characters, and is so funny. He's the son.
Is he the son?
Yeah.
That's Patrick Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even put that together.
And he's so funny.
He's so douchey in a good way.
In a good way.
In character. Yeah.
I think that like a dumb pair of shorts and like and a belt, like he's got like it feels like one of the leather woven belts from like our childhood.
Yeah.
It's doing real heavy lifting. Because I think I said this on the podcast, but if not, it bears repeating. We're doing the spot or whatever. We're in this very fancy hotel, and
you and Patrick Schwarzenegger.
Me and Patrick, yeah, the whole cast and crew is over there.
Do you go when you meet him? Are you like, I'm Matt, are you Patrick? Like, do you do like an Arnold impression?
Is anybody home? It's me. No, no, of course
it's not the tumor.
But what I'm getting at is that like I zoomed with him a couple times or whatever, and so I go to meet him, and I'm just like struck by like he's tall and buff and rich and charismatic and like good looking.
Are you talking about Patrick or about me? Because
sure.
Can't tell.
It's potato. But the point is like, the closest we have to like royalty, right? Like he's half Kennedy, half Schwarzenegger, a land baron. You know what I mean? Like,
we have Meghan and Harry too.
Sure. Yes.
But yes.
Literal royalty, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, right, of course. When like taking it back a little bit.
His dad was our governor.
His dad was our governor. His
mom is like a Kennedy,
a Shriver, but a Kennedy. But so quarter Kennedy, I guess you could say. But like, still, you get what I'm saying. Like, and so it's so funny to see him on the show, and he plays a full doofus and nails it.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
It's funny. My wife and I watched that show, and I was like, it's hard to tell if it's like good. You watch it,
or if you're just happy to have it back. Yeah.
Yeah. But also you're like, White Lotus, just all this like great stuff happens, but not in the first episode,
Sure.
And and I don't know. It's weird. Now I'm watching Severance, I'm watching White Lotus, and I'm in this pattern of watching shows that I have to wait for a week to watch the next episode.
Yeah, it feels
it's like I kind of have to rewire my brain to enjoy that.
Sure. Yeah. You're just like, oh, I just need more. I think, HBO is great like that. So,
yeah. Well, this is a really long tangent. I was talking about shooting outdoors and trying to make things look sunny and beautiful. And it occurred to me, there's a lot of stuff you can do for a low budget. We've heard of many people that have made features for $50,000 or whatever.
Sure.
You can get a Sony A7S III and shoot anything and make it look beautiful. Shoot it in log But if you want to recreate a sunny day outdoors
when it's not
sunny, it really freaking helps to have some 18Ks.
Yeah. So let's talk about it, because I have been on some like, decently sized shoots where we were running out of time, like burning daylight, and you pull out the big guns and, just like bring up luminance as best you can. And I've never been happy with the ultimate results. Like if like trying to emulate daylight is just so hard when you're doing exteriors. So how do you feel about what you got so far?
Well, so today it was partly cloudy, so sometimes it was super sunny and sometimes it was
over by the beach
overcast.
Probably too, or you've got the marine layer to worry about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. This morning was marine layer. We're in Palos Verdes, right by the beach. And so when you have big lights, you can just kind of point them at the actors and
sure.
At least you have a directionality to the light, So whether the sun is behind the clouds or hitting your actors and you need to diffuse it a little bit, it still feels like there's a direction. I guess the way that you do it without lights is the negative fill, right? You get like a giant black 20 by or 12 by, or you try to take light off of one side if your lighting is totally even and flat to try to give it some shape. But if you have lights, like some big HMI lights, you can kind of try to force it to look good. But I think it looked good. It's funny because, you start shooting at 8 a.m. and everything looks pretty consistent until like 4:30 p.m. And then it's like the sun goes, over the building or over some mountain. And then like 4:30 to 5, it's like you're really using your lights to kind of add some directionality, but everything's still bright. And then like at 5 p.m., and this is like here in LA in February, it's just like everything just starts dimming and then your lights just start making a very contrasty look. So then you need like a lot of fill light, but we only had 2 18Ks. We had to, we wanted 4 and, whatever, budget issues. So we had the 2, and then you kind of are trying to bounce lights. And I mean, I think everybody knows this, but the strategy is always like, you just got to get your wide shots first.
Sure.
And then just go tighter and tighter and tighter. And at some point you can fake a daytime shot.
Sure.
But it should be an insert of a phone or something.
Right. I was going to say, yeah.
Because if you're seeing the sky or things are silhouetted and everyone's like, oh, we'll fix it in color. We'll make it brighter in color. We bring it into color and it's just like completely black. It's just a total silhouette.
Sure.
But overall, I feel happy. I mean, I guess what I wanted to talk about today was just like 2 things. One is like very specific to commercials, which is that, when you pitch on a commercial, you write a treatment usually, and you say like, even if you don't write a treatment, right? It doesn't matter what size. You're like, okay, this is what I'm picturing. We're going to have this epic shot here. And we're going to use the drone
you're laying
shot,
out the vision for it somehow. Yeah.
You're laying out the vision, but you are selling the vision, right? Like you're like, ooh, and then we're going to have like there's something musical about this, this campaign. We'll hire a choreographer to choreograph all the extras. So they're all kind of moving to the beat of the music.
Yeah. I do want to throw out a big caveat that like your producers are along for the ride with that pitch. And so when you're bringing up those ideas, they're double checking that you can pull them off, or saying like, hey, Oren, you have to dial this down because we don't have the money to do the thing that you're pitching to them. So like it's not like you have carte blanche to just pitch for the moon and then reality check is like the day after you win the bid, right? There is a check and balance to it, I think,
Yeah. But there is also like, I don't know, maybe you do it a little differently, but I'll be like, okay, then we're on this crane shot, we're super wide overhead and we're coming down and we push magically somehow push through this door.
I would say wide shot. I wouldn't say crane shot. I wouldn't commit to expensive gear necessarily.
Right. Because sometimes I'll be like, I saw this behind the scenes video where like a Steadicam operator in a Quentin Tarantino movie stood on a forklift.
Yep.
And then
stands on the forklift,
came down and
steps onto a Segway, and then it's a drone catch at the end, and it's
but when you get the job, the producer's like, okay, so do you want the Steadicam or do you want the crane? Because we can't get both. And you're like, like kind of pitched both. And so you start working at it. There's this crazy thing in all filmmaking. But on this project I'm on right now, it's really happening to me a lot, which is the vision that you pitched is hitting reality like really hard. We talked last week about it being raining on the day we're supposed to shoot these sunny things. And there is this element of movie magic where we just kind of push through. If it was an indie feature, it wouldn't even be a question. You'd be like, okay, let's rewrite the scene to be,
it's inside instead.
Yeah.
That's why Wet Hot American Summer, so much of it is indoors. They got rained out. Yeah, you can see rain through the windows on like lots of scenes in that movie. Yeah. And it's a movie called Wet Hot American Summer.
It was actually originally called Hot American Summer.
Yeah, Dry Hot American Summer.
They're like, instead of rewriting all of this, can we just add the word wet to the title?
Yeah, you truly can't tell. But so, to your point, I think rewinding a tiny bit, you're pitching the best possible version of this vision, right?
Right. Because you want to win the job.
Yeah. And also you're not going to undercut like the potential for what you're pitching. You know what I mean? Like it should be this incredible, awesome wide shot. You don't say like, it's the best wide shot your budget can allow us. Like, no, you lead with the potential of how good it can be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also like for wardrobe, for instance, you're like, right? Like, oh, she's super fancy. She just wears Prada and Gucci and Donna Karan, you know, whatever stylist, you know? And then these guys, they're kind of like hipster, like they have kind of cool thrift store clothing. And then, you know, you get this set and they're like, yeah, we had our stylist for one day, you know?
Yeah. Sure.
Like they could shop for one day.
They went to Target.
Yeah. And don't worry, we got some Old Navy also. Oh, and for the fancy one, we went to H&M, you know, and you're like, and then your client comes on and they're like, that's not Prada. You told us it's going to be Prada. I'm like, well, did you really think on your budget that we were going to have like every character is going to wear Prada shoes and you can't even see their shoes? Like, so I think you and I as filmmakers were like, yeah, we're going to pitch a North Star to work towards. But then once reality comes into, we're like, okay, well, we can't get the Corvette. I remember I did this feature, that one with Lori Loughlin, where this woman is supposed to be driving like a super expensive convertible, which like, you know, who even drives convertibles? It's like such a weird car to have. And so we went to a picture car place and we got like a Mercedes convertible and we get the set and the producers are like, dude, Oren, this is like the shittiest Mercedes we've ever seen. That's like not a nice car. The whole point is that she has this really fancy car. We're supposed to think she's like this very wealthy, affluent, like bougie woman. And then we reveal she's like an escaped, you know, mental patient that stole the car from someone. And I was like, well, you're talking about like a $200,000 car, you know, that and we're trying to rent it for like $1,000. Like it's just
also, do they have, I know this movie was a while ago. I don't think they make expensive convertibles anymore. Do you know what I mean? When you think of like rich people, do you think of like, they're not driving convertibles.
A Mustang. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe there's like a Bentley convertible or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's funny. We just went to Hawaii with some friends and they rented a convertible. And
like, that's where
kids were super jealous. And then we drove it for them one night. We borrowed it and we're like, oh, this is the least comfortable.
It's so,
like the back seat.
Yeah. Unless you have a buzz cut, it's a nightmare. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like anyone with like long hair just whipping around in your face all the time. Yeah, it's quite awful. I drove a Mustang convertible. My car got stolen a few years ago, and that was like what they had at the rental place, and it was free. And yeah, it was just like so inconvenient and strange. It was just like, I'm just going to drive an unsafe kind of tacky. It was red too. So it impressed the toddlers in my life at the time. That was fun. Yeah,
that's awesome. I remember and also my car was in the shop. I had to like get a loaner and it was like a yellow Mustang and I had a date and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be so awesome. And then I was like, oh no, this is not going to be us.
You're a driving red flag, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It did not work out.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so now like I pitched this like kind of epic, all these epic shots and all these crazy things. And from our auditions and just kind of spending a lot of time with the agency, I've come to realize like that they really are expecting every single thing I wrote in the treatment to be reality. Like, well, you said there's going to be this epic wide shot of this entrance. You said there's going to be this crane shot. You said there's going to be this there. And the reality is it's not just the money, but it's the time. Like when I'm pitching, we're going to do this big opening shot where like these plants are opening up and the camera goes in and this pool is going to be perfectly art directed with like 100 umbrellas and 100 loungers. And we're going to have like 50 extras. They're all going to move to the beat.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have our main character walk in and say like she's going to be carried in by two dancers and put down. And then you look at the schedule and you're like, hey, by the way, it's a one-line shot. You have 30 minutes to shoot this.
Yeah.
And I just
how many spots is this campaign? How many are you?
Honestly, it's like a 130. That's like kind of the hero spot. And then there's like 4 15s.
Yeah, gotcha.
The 15s are all their own spots, but they're all one setup. It's like a close and a wide, and then they're going to like film some other stuff later that cuts into them, like product shots.
Yeah.
But this 30 is really like, you know, it's like we're going for the cool transitions and all the extras and all the locations and, you know.
And I'm sure your camera's moving all the time, so you can't lock it off and do a digital zoom and like focus on the extras for 10 minutes, focus on the leaves for 10 minutes, focus on, like you can't take it bite by bite. It's got to be all at once. You're eating the whole pizza the whole time.
Well, as I was planning out the shots, so we have this animal in it, and it's like not an animal that does like, it's a bird. It's a bird.
Yeah. Untrainable.
And I, of course, stupidly was like, oh, I think there's a part where the bird is saying some things. And, obviously we'll just like ADR it. But I was like, oh, it'd be cool if the bird flies in, says its line, and flies out. And they're like, yeah, we love that.
I
literally have a shot.
For people in their cars right now, I've been shaking my head for the last 15 seconds.
Yeah. And I had this shot where it's like the product, a close up on the product. The camera pulls back as like one person hands the product to another person. The receiving person picks up the product and uses it. And as she's using it, wind blows her hair back, and the bird lands on the shoulder of the guy that handed it.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what? This is the kicker. Like, that shot alone is difficult, and the camera moves like from like start to close. Yeah. It's difficult as a shot, but the hardest part about it, and this is what I got to stress to people that maybe you already know because you work in commercials or you want to work in commercials, is I had 2.5 seconds from the beginning of that shot to the end of that shot for it to fit in my edit. And because we were in such a hurry, we're like an hour behind. We didn't have time to we have this 12:1 zoom, that Optimo, it's a 24:290. It's like literally the zoom lens itself weighs like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to give people vertigo, right?
And it's on a Sony Venice 2, which is also an insanely oversized camera. And it's on a jib arm. That's on a dolly. That's on track. And I'm like, we don't need all this stuff, but it would take like 25 minutes to just take the lens off of this head and this and that.
Are you worried about camera shake though? Right on the far end of the barrel, right? Are you feeling it or no?
Well, we didn't even use the far end of the barrel, but because we're in such a hurry, we just had this giant rig. And so we're like, let's just do it with this rig. Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
And it's, it's that timing. So it's like, I'm kind of coming to this place where I pitch these epic things because in my mind, you could do them in Unreal Engine very easily.
Sure.
Or in Blender and 3D in animation, which I don't know if you've seen Flow, the movie that was completely made in Blender, but the shots in that are just like so amazing because it's done in Blender,
That movie's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
It does feel like a Zelda level.
Yeah. It does, but it's good too.
Yeah,
the storytelling.
Zelda's great. Yeah. It's beautiful. But I think it's the movement, honestly. Anyway,
because that is kind of video gamey camera movement, but that's to me like this kind of thing I'm realizing, like I love extras and I love art directing. I love coordinating things and moving the camera. But when you have to do all that and the shot has to be 2 seconds long because that's how long it's been timed out to be, and you have all this dialogue you have to fit, it gets really hard and you have to get so many things perfect in one shot. And then if there's like 2 alt lines or something, now you're just multiplying it. So, and I told everyone, I was like, hey guys, just so you know, it's going to be a 20 take day. Every setup, we're going to do 20 takes because it's going to take us like 10 takes to get it right and another 5 takes to get it to time. And then we're going to do like 5 different versions just to be safe. Yeah. But even then you go through the 20 takes and then the agency or someone will come up to you and say, okay, so do you think we have it? Which take is the take that you think we have?
Sure.
And you're like, no fucking clue.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about this shot a little bit more because I want to break it down because just to deal with my own anxiety a little bit, because I think that there are things, all of the different variables combined is what makes this super hard. Right.
But, each thing on its own is easy. But I didn't mention that there's a snap zoom into the bird at the end of this. Okay. Because the bird can't fly, land, say a line, and fly off in one take. The talking part has to be like on its own. And so I was like, I'll hide it in a snap zoom.
Yeah.
But snap zooms are actually quite difficult, even on an iPhone, to hit your mark and get the zoom to hit the right, focal length and all that stuff.
Yeah. So the way I would approach, and I think everyone would approach this, is if the shit's hitting the fan, you think of all of the different pieces and you say like, okay, like what are the things that I can simplify and what are the things that are essential, right? So I was joking before, but it's true. Like the camera movement is the big X factor for you on all of this, because otherwise you could shoot 6K and really or even plan to like start with the close and then move wide and then make that wide a lock off or something like that. There are ways that you could kind of like make it piecemeal. So the beats are
even if you're editing, even if you cut close up on the hand, medium shot as she picks it up,
or hide wipes, right? Like use body wipes to like create edits as well. So you start on a close up of the product, right? You pull wide as the bird is landing, and then somebody else. Yeah, walk me through it. Remind me again.
So we have a person. It's kind of like a sales area. We have the salesperson handing the product to a customer. She picks up the product and uses it. As she uses it, a fan hits her hair, so it's like flowing. You know, so it's kind of this magical moment. And then behind her, a bird lands on the shoulder of the service guy. And we snap zoom in on the bird for its line.
And what's the camera movement for that whole thing? You're starting on the product getting handed to the person, pull out wide as the hair goes up.
Kind of like an insert on the product to like a shot of the customer, like kind of 3/4 angle shot of the customer and the service person.
Like a little low vantage kind of.
That's kind of like eye level.
Yeah.
It kind of goes up. So we were on a jib arm.
Yeah.
And a dolly. And I don't know if I've used this before. It's called an Oculus head. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It's kind of like a remote head, but it can rotate 360. Yeah, in any direction. But the operator has like the wheels. Which is another thing, because if you have like a regular tripod head, you can aim very intuitively, and you can also zoom at the same time. But once you have both of your hands on the wheels, you need somebody else to do the zoom.
And then you have to be really in sync with them. They have to get that timing as well, and it would be very easy to So I guess really what I'm hearing is, if it were me, I would try to engineer it so that you could do the background beat as a plate, basically. So you're taking
like the bird coming in?
The bird coming in, and then the snap zoom you can do basically you do that part as a plate and then cut into the insert, basically. Also, I was going to say, you can always snap zoom and then do it in reverse, right? So like start on your subject, have them land their line. In this case, it's a bird, and then cut to the snap zoom out rather than trying to land a snap zoom in. It's a little bit of a cheat, but I feel like
cut to or like reverse the snap
zoom.
Zoom.
Reverse the snap zoom. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder. I didn't take the footage with me tonight. I meant to, but I was gonna see if we can. I use the term upcut. You know that term?
No.
It's basically, I use it when I'm talking about just cutting later into a clip. So like, let's say I have a shot of you sitting down. You just finished work and you're standing up to leave the room. But when we shot it, you finished the work. You closed the laptop, you adjusted a couple things, and then you stood up. So like when I say upcut, like I basically will just jump cut, but try to make it seamless without you adjusting the things. Like you just close your laptop and upcut. So with the transitions, you can do that a lot, right? Sometimes the camera didn't pan fast enough at the end of a line or tilt. Like you can literally just remove the frames between when the pan happened and when you want the pan to happen.
Cutting beats, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's out of the same shot. But because there's so much movement, you don't notice it a lot of times.
Yeah.
And if you look, I do this a lot because I download commercials and look at transitions. And if you look frame by frame between like a lot of work, you see that this pan is at a different time, or there's like a light all of a sudden in the shot or something that wasn't in there a second ago.
This just totally works.
Yeah. I think you can kind of hide like a snap zoom or a snipe. But you try to get it to look good, and you have 10 client and agency people looking at it, and they're like, well, how does this work? How is this going to edit together?
Yeah. To me, faking a snap zoom's a bummer. Like if you just like do some sort of digital blur or something, but if you're optically doing a snap zoom, but then just cutting into it when it's convenient, cutting into it, as you would maybe say, that to me, I think works really well. Typically, you could throw like a little couple frame crossfade on it too, if you wanted to, just to kind of blend it even more.
Yeah. Or even just a little scale up or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We had a drone today too, and it's like, hey, here's this beautiful freaking drone shot that we can never use because we have to be on the shot for 1.5 seconds. Yeah. So
I'm curious because you're reminding me our shooting styles are pretty different. Like you love moving the camera, and I like to sometimes, but like oftentimes I like locked off shots for sure, or like tiny little pushes in and out, especially when it's dialogue driven stuff. Whereas I feel like you do a lot of like direct to camera, people are moving through a space and it's incredible and glamorous and, punchy, right? But so for my stuff, we'll cut actors out and slide them around in the frame a little bit and retime things. And because of that shooting style, even if it's on a steady cam, it's pretty forgiving. You can do that a lot.
Yeah. And especially if you shoot good coverage, you can really get away with murder.
Yeah. But when you're doing stuff that you do, that's like, there's 50 extras and there's a wet pan and a snap zoom, and then somebody has to do a bite and like, and, it's all kind of choreographed, but there's deeper layers is what I'm saying. Do you feel like you can get away with that stuff or no?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I feel like I'm always compromising. Yeah. Like today, I felt like I could have easily taken another hour to do like this really big shot. And yeah, it's tricky. But when it works, even when it half works, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. For sure.
And I'm challenging myself to not really shoot coverage. But what I keep learning on jobs like this is it's a pretty big shoot for me, like union crew in LA.
3 days also, yeah.
Yeah. But I work on very small things as well. I work on things on occasion where I'm operating the camera and stuff. But on this shoot, so we had this other shot where it's like this guy's holding a product and we go from his hands to seeing him. He kind of like gives like a nod to the camera, and then he's in a pool and we fly over him and we zoom into like the next character who has the next line walking up to a different area. And as we're shooting this, I'm having so much anxiety because again, it's a shot that's supposed to be like 2 seconds and it's clearly 6 seconds. And I'm like, okay, what would Matt Enlow do here? He would get an insert shot on the product so that we could just cut to it and then we can cut to the, or he would get a shot of the reaction.
That's not what I would do. I would retime it. I would be like, I'm going to speed ramp this. Yeah. And then be mad about it. That's what I would do. Yeah.
I mean, you could speed ramp, but I guess it's like not a speed rampy type spot.
You know what you could do?
Maybe.
I saw a TikTok tip from some creator who I don't follow, but I thought I was like, oh, this is really nice. Actually, it's a music video move that people do all the time, but I was reminded of where essentially he'll shoot performance videos at double speed or even like 2.5 speed, knowing that he will speed ramp down and like pop footage, pop beats here or there. You know what I mean? Like something percussive sort of happens.
Wait, did you just watch this video on YouTube? I literally just watched this.
We have the same algorithm. Yeah. I saw it on TikTok, but yeah. Yeah,
okay. Right. I think I saw it on Instagram where he's like, I just shoot. He's like, this is how I shoot my music videos to be editable in any way possible. I shoot everything at 48 frames. I do a take.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's a different video, but the same principle, right? But so the reason I bring it up is because then if you're playing with time in the shot a little bit, then if you want to go slow, it's going to look great. But also that gives you latitude to like, you slow a little bit down and then you speed ramp through stuff. So like, because what I'm hearing is that I think this drone shot is limited by physics, right? Like it's not like a drone can just go from 0 to 60 at the turn of a dime, and you do have like a lot of land you need to travel over, basically, right?
Yeah, that specific shot I was talking about that I was having trouble with, like the product and everything, that was actually again on a jib and a dolly and this Oculus. But what I was thinking, so maybe you would have thought like to speed ramp it. I was just thinking like, how can I cover this shot?
Sure. Yeah.
Just
cover
in case I cut it. Yeah. So it's like, any editor will be like, just get some inserts, and then we can always like edit between different takes. And so, I'm standing next to the DP. He's on the wheels, and for those that don't know, like the wheels are like, if you're using a remote head, like if your camera is on a jib or something, you're not controlling it from the head of the jib, right? You control it remotely over like a radio signal. And you have these wheels that you can pan and tilt with. So he's doing the pan and tilt. We have our first AC is pulling focus. Our second AC is doing the zoom. And our key grip is pushing the dolly. And our jib operator is jibbing, doing the jib, right? And so, and the producer's like, Oren, we're like an hour behind. Our producer, Kelly.
You're like, hey, dude, I've got 6 people operating one camera. Give me a break.
No, but I'm panicking. I'm like, okay, we're behind. Okay, So I say to the DP, I'm like, hey, can you just like pan over and just get a shot of the product?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, can you guys roll? And they're like, okay, we're not reset. I'm like, no, just roll the camera, just point at the camera at the product.
Yeah.
And as soon as we hit roll, like everyone starts moving the jib, zooming in, doing the this. I'm like, no, we're not doing that move.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you just need to run over and be like, everyone listen, I'm stealing some B-roll. Just literally point the camera at that thing right now, please.
Yeah. But it's hard when you have the more people you're working with, the more thing. And you talk about this all the time, how you don't cut because not because you want long takes, but because once you say cut, like 7, people run in, like an art person moves something here and makeup,
somebody's
wardrobe,
like spritzing the product and like tilting the thing and refreshing something. And
But do you think, because a lot of times someone will run in and just move someone's hair a little bit, right? That was like sitting in an awkward place.
Yeah.
Like, do you not think like, okay, so now you did 5 takes in a row without this person running in and fixing the hair. Now you've kind of wasted all this time with kind of not great looking hair.
No, that's great. That's an important point of clarification. I've learned through experience, very quick to cut. As soon as I know a take isn't going to be good, like as soon as it's boned for whatever continuity reason or something else, I cut immediately and have them fix it. Because I think in years past, especially in narrative, I would be like a little touchy-feely of like, well, I don't want to interrupt the actor. They're in the middle of their flow.
There's a flow. Yeah.
And that's true and real. And you do have to be sensitive to it. But I set a precedent of like, if this isn't going to be usable, I don't want to waste your energy either. That's right. So
but also in narrative filmmaking, I think it depends. If you're doing something that's a little more naturalistic and real, like if someone's hair isn't perfect or clothing is more like,
sure.
much more forgivable than if it's like a spokesperson, right? Or the person brushing their teeth with Colgate.
I guess what I'm saying is, for me, it's a binary of like, if the take is usable, if it's acceptable under my terms, then, and we're in a flow state, I want to just keep going. So I probably won't cut. I'll call still rolling, go again right away. Right. Whereas if the take isn't usable for whatever reason, I call it immediately, fix it so that we can get back into that usable state.
Right. Yeah. What's your opinion on if you're like doing a take, you're running behind, as we always are, you're doing a series, and then someone is like, Matt, and they just point to the monitor at something, and you're on a wide shot, and you have no idea what they're pointing at, and they're like, okay, are you ready to go? You're like, what? And they're like, this reflection, and you're like, what? Like it doesn't look weird to you, but someone is telling you that something is going on. So I haven't seen a lot with like hair and wardrobe too. It's like, we could see the wire on the love, and it's like, okay, it's such an easy VFX fix, but I guess let's go again.
So I've been wrong as many times as I've been right on this, and so I tend to just be like, okay, let's just go again real quick, because I do have a bad habit of really tunnel vision focusing on eyes in a performance. Like I'm really so narrowly focused that if someone's saying, hey, this looks weird, it's almost always worth it to do another take real quick, even if I don't see it in the moment, because so many times I've been like, it's fine, stop it. And then hated myself later, Like for the most part, it's our problem if the edit isn't good. Do you know what I mean? Like that person who's pointing at the thing that they think looks weird isn't going to know if we used a VFX shot or if we used the shot that we used or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I want people to feel like they can communicate clearly. It's hard when you're in the zone and you're really focused on an important detail, and then someone is being unclear and also blocking your pathway to the picture. Do you know what I mean? That can be frustrating for sure, because it's so intimate in that moment. You're just like focused, and then someone is like, but, and they don't know whether you care or not,
Right. To me, it's always like, oh, there's a reflection on her button. It's shiny. And I'm like, on her metal button is reflecting some light. Okay. Is that like bad? Is that like, is that not supposed to happen in the real world? Why are you telling me this? Let's keep shooting. Yeah. It's funny. And because I like to orchestrate kind of complicated shots, I do find that I'm not paying attention to like, what are the background actors doing?
Right.
What are
that's why playback is so important for me now. Like being able to like be like, okay, we got this part, but I want to double check. Let's play. I need to watch this a couple times, put it on loop. I want to like look at all the different variables for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tricky. And then the worst is like, then I'll show you a cut and you'll be like, what that guy in the background sounds kind of weird. Like, what were you thinking there? And I'll be like, what was I thinking, Matt? I wasn't even looking at that person.
I preface it. I'll be like, I know you hate this, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
You're like, if you invested in my VFX background actor package
That's right.
that I pitched you 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but yeah, my shoot's going well. We're going to go to the beach in 2 days. We're shooting at the pool tomorrow. I'm staying at the hotel where we're shooting, which is pretty cool. I'm going to open my, like literally I get to sleep an extra 2 hours tomorrow because I'm staying here.
Yeah.
It's like an 1.5 hour drive from my house. And I don't have like my family or anyone to deal with in the morning. Yeah. But yeah, well, so you are starting a new show.
Starting a new show. Yeah. So it's interesting. I was thinking about this. Like we're kind of both dealing with different versions of our own perfectionism. So I'm starting a new show that I can't give a ton of details about.
And with clients and other people. It's different than you working on your own project.
Yes, correct. Yeah. That's important to say. Yeah. There's effectively a studio and a production company and talent and all of those factors that you have to deal with. But what has been preoccupying my every waking moment has been the rare circumstance where a year ago I had done a show with a lot of the same players and people, but I had inherited a crew and a staff and a workflow. Most importantly, a workflow. And that was when I was doing the show Dark History with this creator Bailey Sarian. And so there was stuff that I was able to, kind of reshape in the way that I like to do things. And there was stuff that we just kind of had to live with because it was something where the show was doing like 48 episodes a year, just constantly releasing content that was 40 minutes long and heavily scripted, really like we're trying to make it as joke dense as possible. There's just a lot going on. And so we never had a chance to, I joined midstream, so I never had a chance to just stop down, take a deep breath and say, okay, this part works. This part we need to revise. This is how we do everything. And now I'm on a new show where I'm starting from scratch. There's zero precedent. And every aspect of it, I am essentially producing from whole cloth. There's lots of other parties involved with the creative development and, all sorts of, I felt like I mean to take credit for it, but like the systems and the shooting cadence and all, like how you start a show from the ground up is kind of on my shoulders. That kind of is literally on my shoulders. And so I am just trying to like dissect every aspect of how we manage and produce this thing in a way that's exciting and exhilarating. And also I find myself being a little precious sometimes. And I'm trying to remind myself that like I've got another 48 episodes to like continue to let it evolve and tweak and change things as they go. But I really want to set a foundation up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of like doing 10 years of a podcast. And I've had all these ideas, but I just didn't want to mess up your midstream.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. We just, we haven't skipped an episode in a long time. No. And it would be convenient too.
Even when we've done a replay, which like we do maybe once a year or something, we'll do an intro to it.
I think we've done like two replays
ever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And each of us has missed like an episode or two. Yeah.
We're crazy.
That's
every time I meet new people on like the podcast comes up, or even when we went to that DJA event and people are like, oh, these guys have a podcast. Like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And then like the next time I see them, they're like, yeah, there's a lot of episodes. Like, I don't think I'm going to listen to all of them.
Yeah. It used to be we would meet people who were like, oh, I've listened to every episode.
Yeah.
And
no, that's impossible at this point.
Yeah.
Today, my DP, I carpooled with them and he picked me up and he basically had the episode playing in his car. Mm-hmm. And he thought it would be really funny if we like listened to an episode of Just Shoot It together as we drove to this 1.5 hour.
So you finally listened to one?
No. And then he's like, he's like, maybe we shouldn't. He was kind of trying to prank me.
Yeah.
But I told him I would enjoy it. And
joke's
so
on you. This is only the second time I'll be hearing it.
Yeah. So I think you were mentioning off the mic that maybe like you're working at a different pace than like the rest of your new teammates.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because when you're working with like a certain type of talent, and I think you could probably like when we shoot with celebrities on commercials and things like that, we know we're not the only thing in their lives. Like they're famous for something other than commercials, right? And so they're busy playing sports or being on a TV show or being a movie star or whatever it may be.
But your show, is it branded or is it not?
No. It's
like, is it sponsored by?
Podcasts are, there's a studio that's paying for it basically. And then
but it's more like a TV show where
it's more like a TV show model. Yeah.
Like it's going to be popular enough that we grow an audience and we can sell advertising against it.
Yeah.
But it's not like KY Jelly presents a show.
No, correct. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So it is, it's a little different, I think, in that the celebrity could benefit from it in the way that like, Jason Bateman benefits from SmartLess.
Sure. I think certainly the next time I run into Jason Bateman, which happens with some regularity, mostly when we buy Christmas trees from the same lot every year. And I've seen him a couple times. It's that mall where the robot sushi is that we went to that one time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to run into celebrities, go to the Christmas tree lot in the valley.
We didn't see any celebrities when we were there together.
Yeah. I think it's got to be Christmas.
Just there.
Anyway, I'll thank him because celebrities having hit podcasts has been very good for me.
Yeah, I guess Dax Shepard.
Sure. Yeah. Dax was ahead of the curve. I feel like SmartLess, people are like, oh, I should have a podcast. This seems like so much fun. The SmartLess guys are having a great time.
Yeah. The Seth Meyers Lonely Island one, and obviously like Conan O'Brien. And
yeah.
The podcast, the Kelsey Bros.
The which one? Oh, the Kelsey Bros. I heard Kelsey Grammer in my head. That's my main Kelsey.
That's I think that's a psychotherapy radio show he hosts.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, so we'll see how things go. I'm very excited, but I'm preoccupied with just feeling like I nailed it, more from a process perspective than anything else.
Yeah. Do you know about like first principles, that idea?
No.
It's like, hopefully this isn't too controversial, but it's like first principles. I'm just reading the description just so I don't mess it up. In philosophy and science, a first principle is a basic proposition or assumption that cannot be deduced from any other proposition or assumption. They are the basis for knowledge in science. And I think that our buddy Elon Musk is like a big believer in this. A lot of these like kind of tech founders are. And it's kind of this idea that when you go up and start a new business or approach a new venture, that you kind of throw away all the like things that have evolved over time. Like, the reason we have a 45-minute lunch on a set is because we have this last man out thing where it's like all these rules, that are kind of built on various rules and laws and codes and traditions and
history. Yeah.
Yes. And this idea that maybe if you go to something with like, hey, what do we know is true? We know that like we need a camera, and when it's rolling, we are capturing things, and it's not rolling, things are bad. Like what are the first principles of this thing that we're making, and let's throw everything else out and try to rebuild the entire business based on that. And obviously, I am personally not a fan of anything he's doing at all right now with like Doge. And, I do think he's quite insane in many ways and says insane stuff. However, I do sometimes think about if you use that approach to make a new podcast, to create a show, and you see people like Sean Baker kind of making film in like non-traditional ways, or Brady Corbett, or people that are just kind of ignoring the traditions and the rules and the ways you make things, just make amazing work. Like Flow. I mean, this movie was like made, there was a team of animators, but the bulk of it is made by one person. This is a feature film that is nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
That is playing in theaters all over the world, that people love, that appeals to, parents and kids and adults, that has no dialogue in it.
Yeah, it's about a cat.
It's not boring at all.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. And sometimes I'm like, it would be cool if you approach this show and just be like, I don't know why this rule needs to exist.
Why do we do it that way? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, doing, it's like a video podcast is different enough that it forces me to rethink all of my assumptions already. Like if it was a movie or a TV show or a commercial, I don't know that I would have the same perspective of like taking a step out, right? But like making 48 of something and knowing all of the different variables and having to manage the team and having a sense of the quantity of footage and edits and run all of that stuff just forces you to really kind of reassess those assumptions early on.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially when you're running the show, when you kind of get to make the rules. Because even as a director, especially on a commercial, but I'm sure on TV it's similar. You don't really get to make the rule. You get to choose the shots and be involved in the casting and the editing and the locations and the art, but you don't like something. I think both of us talked about Greta Gerwig 100 years ago, requiring everyone on her crew to wear name tags. And it's something that I would like just absolutely love to do on every single shoot of mine. And I've probably done it on one shoot ever,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we've talked about this, but it's a good example of like, it's such a cool idea. And then like inevitably, the one person whose name you want to know is like, it's covered up in the jacket.
Not wearing
it's like that cold, or, you just find like name tags stuck to the bottoms of people's feet all the time. Like you need to like laminate them and get everybody a lanyard or something like that in order for it to work really well. Like,
see, I feel like it would. I feel like it would work, but it's just as the director, it's kind of like the director wants to wear a name tag.
It makes me think
annoying.
I, for years, would do a morning circle up, kind of like around the safety meeting. I would like make a little speech and like,
did you do that in your college humor days?
By then, I think it had stopped around.
So you're kind of talking about a lot of like your own projects, which is just a totally different thing.
Well, yes, that's true. But I feel like I would do it on. No, I can think of some branded pieces that I would do it on for sure. And just kind of like have this little moment that I thought was standard. This is the moral of the story. And I thought it was standard because I loved Darren Aronofsky movies so much that I would watch all of the behind the scenes content and listen to the commentaries and stuff all the time. And he does it. And I just was like, well, that's a thing that directors do. And so it was this weird assumption that I was like, oh yes, this is part of the process. No one thinks this is weird. And it wasn't until like I was really working much more regularly that I was like, oh, we don't have time to do this. I always liked it. You know what I mean? But it's a version of,
but also when you're working for money.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And you're a crew member you're doing crafting, you don't care what this project is for,
Yeah.
That's to go and do a 15-minute kumbaya circle about how
I'd
appreciated they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not joking. We'd hold hands like it was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
Sweat tent. What's it called?
It wasn't like sure. We all took ayahuasca and saw God together. No, it wasn't it was like my version of it. It was like lighthearted and fun and, just kind of like showing a little bit of gratitude and stuff. But you're right. There were certainly people there who were like, I'm not even going to bother learning your name, man. I'm gone tomorrow. Like, we're not going to talk. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fun. I mean, maybe eventually we'll come up with our own rules and feel confident enough to just tell everyone that
this is how we do it. Yeah. Yeah.
But you have the chance to do this. You're going to do a podcast with no microphones.
That's
you know
what? That's right. I mean, we could do clip-ons or like, you remember Digital Spaghetti? They all wear like the headphones with the like wraparound mic.
Yeah.
Like you're flying a helicopter.
Yeah. Customer service microphone.
Yeah, exactly. And I was always like, that's so doofy, but it works. And they have the free motion. They can talk wherever.
Yeah. Pretty decent sound.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Well, awesome, Matt. Well, yeah. Keep us updated. So how the new show goes.
I will. Very exciting. And let us know how the commercial goes.
Yeah, I will. I'll be unemployed next week. So I'll be like bugging you every day. Well, before we wrap up, do you have a minute to endorse some things?
I do indeed.
Unpaid endorsements.
I finally have one that I'm excited for. My unpaid endorsement is a creator by the name of Joe Kappa. Do you know Joe Kappa?
Joe Kappa. How do you spell Kappa?
What was that? Sorry.
How do you spell Kappa? With a C?
With a C. C-A-A.
Yeah. Animator?
Animator. Yeah, I think he does some stuff for Adult Swim. So if you're into that vibe, you're probably familiar with this stuff. And all of it is really great. But I especially like he has a video with only 500,000 views that came out about a month ago called Meet the Boys. That's like basically like a EPK for like a boy band. But all of the guys from the neck down, more or less look like normal boy band, like NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Backstreet Boys sort of guys. One's got tattoos, one's wearing a silver vest, all that stuff. But they all have these giant melon heads that are very clearly like paper mache. Yeah. Yeah. So this just kind of surrealist, absurdist vibe. So Meet the Boys was my gateway drug. And then he has a series called Ha Ha You Clowns that's animated, but similarly grotesque. Just like a little strange.
It has like Beavis and Butthead vibes.
Yeah. It looks gross is what I'm saying. But here's the thing. The aesthetic is really important to making it feel like a little disturbing or a little strange or a little surreal, like I said. But the dialogue and the editing, the timing, the pacing of these pieces is bone dry. These are the softest jokes ever, and it's incredible, right? And when I say hard jokes versus soft jokes, like a hard joke is like a like a joke, or like like The Office, like or 30 Rock or The Simpsons, something like that. Like really biting one-liners that are character driven and super funny, explosive. This stuff is like a lot of like yeah, you would think that, but it's so well observed that these like weird, just like small, meaningless conversations through the lens of this surreal grotesquerie is like just funny and strange and makes you think about all of your own personal tics or the reasons we say the things we say in a way that's pretty incredible. It's pretty weird and cool. So Ha Ha You Clowns is about 3 brothers and their dad. And the 3 brothers are just like very sweet, but in kind of a basic way, and love their dad, and their dad loves them. And then most of the time by the end of the episode, they get really emotional because the sons are so proud of their dad for raising 3 boys on his own. And he's just doing an incredible job. And then that's it.
Cool. It seems really funny. Yeah, it's kind of clicking around on it while you're
Ha Ha You Clowns, Joe Kappa in general. It's a good fever dream of a YouTube plunge. And also, honestly, reminds me of what made YouTube great back in the day.
Clowns.
No, like weird, like...
Yeah. Who was that guy on Super Deluxe? The animator. You remember?
Yeah, Brad Neely.
Yeah, Brad Neely.
Yeah. Who eventually had an Adult Swim series and is a mad genius. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a ton of overlap. He had a show called Baby Cakes, which eventually became
Cake Friends.
China, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah. You could definitely reference Baby Cakes episodes that I would be able to quote back to you for sure. Like it's in my DNA. I love Baby Cakes so much.
That's amazing. Do you know my daughter? She's read every Babysitter's Club book, and
every single one.
Yep, and you can tell her a number of a book. The graphic novels.
Okay,
there's 17 of them.
Okay, great.
You could say like book 6, and she'll be like, "Oh, that one's called Marla Has a Crush," and then she'll be like, "And here's a scene from it," and then she'll just tell you word for word what every character said.
Yeah, I like that.
That's called not having a phone. So all you do is read graphic novels every night.
Hell yeah. What's funny is that your daughter is like, I think probably cool, right? Like she's probably like, like...
I don't know that she would consider herself cool, but she does wear like Olivia Rodrigo concert t-shirts.
Sure. So. Yeah.
I think if I was like a 3rd grade boy, I'd be like, that's pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. But that's very nerdy behavior. And I like it when, like people kind of like surprise each other in certain ways. That's great. Yeah.
She's resourceful, I guess.
Encyclopedic knowledge of a graphic novel series is objectively some nerd shit. And I say...
Even though we're like, can you please just read a book without pictures? It's like, nah, prefer these graphic novels.
Well, if she wants recommendations, I've got them for her.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Kaplan, what you got?
I've got this thing I've been doing lately on set. It's kind of a realization. I don't think this will be new to anyone, but Matt, you know what a LUT is, right?
Yes.
What is it?
A lookup table. Oh, sorry. We're hosting a podcast. Yeah. So a lookup table, a LUT, is basically the look that you apply to the custom look that you apply to an image to produce the results you want from a contrast and saturation and, highlights perspective, all of that stuff. Like an Instagram filter, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like a filter you put on your footage. Most cameras, right, modern cameras shoot log footage that is very low contrast, and you put this LUT on it to view it on the monitor. Everyone's looking at it on the monitor in a way that looks closer to how you would see it on TV or in the edit or whatever. And there's like, I guess, kind of the standard LUT that you would use would turn whatever camera you're shooting on, Alexa or Sony or whatever, to Rec 709, right? Rec 709 is kind of like the standard TV color and contrast look. And I've found, and it looks okay. It looks fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, I dare say it looks great, but it's generic, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe faithful in a way to what you're filming, right? If you're filming a red shirt, it will look red. If you're filming, something pink or blue or gray or brown or whatever, it will kind of look like that on the monitor. And it's pretty bright and poppy and saturated, but you can use a different LUT, right? That kind of adds a stylization. And right, all these people online are selling like LUT packs, like use my LUT and your movie will look like The Matrix or whatever, which is not true like ever. However, I've kind of recently on set, like I try to talk to my cinematographers and say like, hey, can we not use Rec 709? Can we like try to find a LUT that has a look to it, that has like, kind of warmer shadows or cooler shadows, or like the blues kind of go to teal and the yellows kind of go to orange, and reds are desaturated. I've come to realize that I just like hate red, the color red.
You're guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like saturated reds. Unless it's like for a very specific reason. And then I find that if we use a LUT while we're on set and the client is looking at the LUT and I'm looking at this LUT and the proxies, when we're making these kind of versions of the footage for the editor to use.
Or this is where I thought you were headed with this. I could not agree with you more. This is like the biggest cosign on an endorsement of all time.
Yeah. And I think it might be obvious, but to me, it's like I'm about 50-50 on the DPs I work, whether we monitor on set and just like the regular Rec 709, kind of the more faithful LUT, or if we have some sort of stylized LUT.
Yeah.
And I'm finding, I used to not really care because it's like, well, it doesn't matter.
We'll fix it. Yeah.
Change it in the grade to be whatever we want. But now I'm realizing I really need to sell that look of, the teals and the oranges, the high contrast, the low contrast, the greens, whatever on camera. Because once I did, I've done a couple jobs over the last few years that we use Rec 709, and the clients just like would not let me push. I'd try to put this like Kodak film emulation LUT. And they're like, no, too cinematic. I tried to put some grain and I tried to do some this. And they're like, no. We just want the product to look clean and great. But if they're used to seeing it, then you can kind of get away with the much cooler looking colors.
You also don't even need to tell them.
Yeah.
Like you just sideload the LUT into everything. So just so we're crystal clear with people, picking the LUT in advance, or I'll do this with Bobby Lamb all the time, who's also a gifted colorist. We will trade looks back and forth, dial in a look, and then load that custom LUT in advance. So every time you're seeing anything on any monitor, any edit, all of that stuff, it all looks as close as we can get it to what we want it to be in advance of the client seeing it, basically, because they're going to fall in love with that look, etc. So if you're trying to do something weird, not even weird, just different than what they have seen before, it's just
stylized and
stylized. Yeah. Or not even, like just like a similarly typical decision, but just different than what they had been observing before. You all of a sudden becomes a conversation, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the music video for Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso, but it is very warm, very orange, kind of has this retro grade. And I don't know what the process was there, but you could see if you wanted to make a commercial that kind of looks like that, it would be very helpful if on set, it kind of looks like that,
Yeah.
On the monitors.
Yeah. People then they're just like, oh, they get it for sure.
Yeah. And then when they don't involve you in the color correction, then you have a much higher chance of liking the final color correction because you've kind of influenced it. And then kind of the side endorsement on that same note is God, what was my side endorsement? Oh, is that on this job, and I don't know why I haven't done this on every single job ever, but I just made a little Dropbox folder and I just threw in like 50 images of movies and TV shows and clips, and even just like location photography and stuff and other commercials. And just color references. Like, oh, I like the color. I like the color. I like the skin tones. I like the colors. And I just share with my DP. So when the DP is like kind of helping set the LUT, you're already like in the world before you even start shooting. So anyhow,
could not agree
that's
more.
what I'm doing on this. And it's funny because you're like, you don't even need to tell the client, but I'm like walking to them and saying, by the way, we have this very strong LUT on here. So this stuff that you see that's black and super contrasty, like we have that information in the camera. We can brighten that. We can make it less contrasty. But so far people seem to dig it. I'll show you some stills when we stop recording. But I think it's got a cool look.
Definitely like stop and show them like, hey, there's a little bit of grain. You see here, it's dancing around. Like, don't do any of that, man. Yeah. I will say the last job I did that on, I love the look so much, and they still retimed it.
You like the look on set, like what you saw on the monitor.
Loved it. One of my favorite grades ever.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if they were grading, if they just went off like the log footage and never even referenced.
No, they were like, it was because we were trying to match a specific color value to the product, basically. And that's
the worst. Yeah. The worst is to work on paint commercials. And like I just did some printer commercials, and they really want the color of the ink or the paint to look the same in real life because that's what they're selling. They're like, look at this. Yeah. I just did some bare paint stuff, and it was like all about this specific red color. And even though we had that red color and we painted everything on set in that red color, the client was like, this is not the right red. And we're like, well, this is the right red. I don't know what you're saying. And they're like, well, it doesn't look right. And it's because you're using tungsten lights, you're using LEDs, you're using like the light changes
or the monitor is in like kind of a dark area or a brighter area or whatever. I feel like with that, you always have to just be like, hey, listen, I know exactly how important this is to you, and I agree with you 100%. And so we are going to do our very best for it to be clear on set, but here is our plan for how we will empirically match the red that we photograph to be the red color value in post, basically. That we will shift everything to be as saturated. Like, you give me a hex code and I will dial in the hex code on that color for you. So there's no arguing to it. You know what I mean? Like literally digital ink.
Yeah. Worse is when they give you like a Pantone color. You're like, well, that's paint color and like light color is not the same thing. But
sure.
Anyhow,
don't explain that.
I've fired so many clients for giving me freaking Pantone colors. Anyhow, I hope this deep dive into boring color tables is interesting to like one of you listeners. If it's interesting to anyone, please DM us on Instagram or at justshootitpod, or you can email us at justshootitpod@gmail.com. You can find me. I'm on Instagram at okaplan.
And I'm at Mr. Matt Venlo. This episode was edited by Kevin Oyang, thank you, Kevin, and produced by Tyler Small. And you are listening to music provided by the Theme Music Archive and the artist Giselle. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.